Hey troops, what's going on? Dit Commando here and welcome to the channel. My name's Ryan and I'm a former Royal Marines Commando from Great Britain, and today we're going to be reacting to 10 most beautiful states in America. So the top 10 most beautiful states in America, guys. Now I've been to one or two of them, but yeah, I haven't been to all of them. Certainly haven't been to all 50 of them, guys. So I look forward to doing this one with you. The last time I did a geography type video on America, it was well received, so hopefully you can appreciate this one, guys. So yeah, we're going to get straight into it, but before we do, if you don't mind, like, share and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out, and I just want to say thank you guys for supporting me. I really do appreciate it. All of the members that have supported the channel so far, I really do appreciate you guys. If you want to become a member, hit the join button or the link in the description, guys. But other than that, we'll get straight into this one. Enjoy.
Before I say anything else, I have to say it isn't nice to judge. Every state is both beautiful and ugly in its own way. Take California, for example. On the one hand, you have Yosemite and Big Sur, but on the other hand, well, you have Skid Row and Stockton. To be completely
It's funny that that's been mentioned, actually, because I keep on talking about, like, you know, California, because I've been there. When I was in the Royal Marines, we was out there with the United States Marines. We were in Arizona for a bit as well. But yeah, every time I say good things about California, I get loads of comments from Americans saying, "Wow, dude, if you like California, you'll love the rest of the United States, because California is not very nice compared to some of the other states out there." Which I was like, "Wow, I absolutely loved California. It was 10 times better than England." So yeah, if that's anything to go off, then this is going to be good, guys.
be honest with you, this was one of the hardest lists I've ever made because I really love the nature in so many states. But the West really is best when it comes to beautiful and unique scenery. Now, don't get me wrong, I grew up in the Northeast, and while there is a lot of charm to the small towns and wooded habitats there, it just doesn't compare to the majestic vistas and untouched wilderness found in the West. But don't worry, there are some eastern states on the list too. It does have a special place in my heart after all. Anyways, I ranked the states by their natural land.
Hang on a minute. Where's that? What is that? What is that?
Landmarks, national and state parks, ecodiversity, and accessibility to nature. Forget about good jobs or city amenities. I mean, who cares about money when you're surrounded by this? Probably goes without saying, but this video isn't for the material girls. So here's to you fellow nature lovers, and if you aren't a nature lover, well, keep watching to see why you should be. Because these are the top 10 most beautiful states in America.
I can't wait for this one, guys. Like, generally, I'm excited.
Number 10, Maine. I know you're probably thinking,
Maine, right? So, there's a guy called Original Human, one of the best YouTube channels on the planet. Yeah, go follow him. He's also a former Royal Marine like myself. Pretty much the reason I got into YouTube anyway. He lives out in Maine. Now, wow, so top 10, that's pretty good out of 50, right? You know? So, maybe I need to go visit him, man.
what? That doesn't look like Maine. Well, that's because it isn't. It honestly was really hard to choose which state to put at number 10, so I'm starting the list off with an honorable mention. South Dakota. Wait, what? South Dakota? Yeah, it might come as a surprise if you've never been here, but that's because it's incredibly underrated. I was blown away on my first visit, and not just because the wind cave. From natural grasslands to the Badlands to Spearfish Canyon and Custer State Park to the Black Hills,
Hang on a minute. Natural grasslands. What's have you guys got, like, unnatural grasslands?
are a heck of a lot more than just 4 dead guys' faces on a rock. The diversity of nature in the Mount Rushmore state is mind-boggling. I seriously have no clue why it's one of the least visited states in the country. But enough with my South Dakota obsession. Actual number 10 is Maine. You might not have given the Pine Tree State much thought if you live outside of New England, but as a New Englander myself, my family would take trips up here almost every summer, and let me tell ya, it is beautiful. Outside the Portland metro area, no, not the one in Oregon, the state is pretty much just untouched, gorgeous nature and really cute, charming small towns, which means there are endless opportunities for adventure, whether you want to hike, ski, swim, kayak, hunt, or fish. And if you're lucky, or maybe unlucky if you get too close, you might even see a moose.
That's right up my street, climbing up mountains, man.
Maine's honestly one of the best kept secrets on the East Coast. From jutting cliffs to stunning beaches, if you include all the islands, Maine actually has more miles of coastline than even California. And
That's
speaking
incredible.
of islands, have you seen Mount Desert Island? It's home to Acadia National Park, which is pretty much the crown jewel of Maine. There really is no other place in America quite like it.
Right, hang on a minute, guys. So, that's an advert anyway. I'm really impressed with that. I am really, really, really impressed with that, man.
Number 9.
Really
Michigan.
impressed.
Now, this might be surprising too, but Michigan's actually another state with more coastline than California. Granted, it's just surrounded by really big lakes, but they're so big that it almost feels like the ocean. You may have heard of the famously old-fashioned Mackinac Island, where cars are forbidden and horses and buggies transport you back.
Is that true? If that's true, I need to go there, man. I could definitely live on an island where there's no cars allowed. I love cars, love fast cars, but if there was none allowed and it was only this, man, I would love to live there. That looked incredible.
Back in time around the Victorian town. But have you heard of Isle Royale National Park? The 400-island archipelago is actually the least visited national park in the contiguous United States, mainly because the only way to get there is a 3-hour-long ferry. But if you make the trip, or honestly just go anywhere in the Upper Peninsula, the wildlife and scenery you encounter will literally feel like a movie. And let's not forget the multicolored Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore, the isolated hilly beaches at Sleeping Bear Dunes, and Headlands International Dark Sky Park, which is one of the best places to see the stars, and if you're lucky, the Northern Lights. I could go on and on about the beauty of Michigan. I mean, there are freaking ice caves and a rock jutting out of the water that looks like a turnip. Number 8.
Right. I think Maine looked better than that place. I want to go to Maine.
Oregon. When you think of Oregon, you probably just think of hipsters in Portland, or maybe something like this or this. But the Beaver State has pretty much every type of biome imaginable. You probably didn't know this was in Oregon, or this. The ecosystems here are seriously so dang diverse that each region feels like its own country. From beautiful beaches bordered by sinkholes, sand dunes.
That is beautiful. Sinkholes, I'm not too bothered about, but that is beautiful, guys.
And giant rock islands, to lush national forests teeming with literally thousands of streams and waterfalls, to charming artsy towns like Ashland, Bend, and Hood River, the entire state just feels enchanted. The Cascade Range also runs through the middle of Oregon and is home to some of the most beautiful mountains in the country, and Crater Lake National Park, which is literally a giant blue lake at the top of a volcanic crater. It's honestly one of the most unique and gorgeous settings I've ever seen. And I haven't even
That is beautiful. I want to visit there.
Mentioned the eastern half of the state, with places like the Painted Hills and Owyhee Canyonlands that you'll swear must be photoshopped. Oh, and there's also Hell's Canyon, aka the deepest gorge in North America, with a nearly 8,000-foot vertical drop into the Snake River. Needless to say, there's a lot more to Oregon than just Portland. Number 7.
Right, yeah, Oregon. Guys, I can understand already why people are saying, you know what, California's nice, but it's not the best. Man, I love California as well. It's the only real place I've been to, though, California, Nevada, Arizona. So I've been to 3 states, but yeah, man, I wished I'd had the opportunity to go elsewhere as well. That looks incredible, guys. I'm not going to lie.
7. Colorado. Denver might be overrated, but there's a reason why so many people are moving to, or at least vacationing, in the Centennial State. Take a drive on I-70 and you'll see why. Every curve of the interstate reveals a breathtaking view of the Rockies before following the Eagle and Colorado rivers through the canyons into a landscape that looks like Mars. And this is honestly the least scenic route. The mountains are just gorgeous all around, with 58 peaks exceeding 14,000 feet. By far the most of any state. In fact, there are only 4 states in the country that even have one 14,000 footer. But while the Front Range is magical, Colorado is so much more than just a beautiful mountainous region full of world-class ski resorts and hikes.
Hey, Aspen, yeah, that's off Dumb and Dumber, guys. So I've seen a bit of it before.
The southwest near Durango, and you'll find some of the most well-preserved Native American pueblos at Mesa Verde National Park. Or
you know, that reminds me a little bit when I was in a place called Petra, and they built pretty much into the cave system there. They built into the rocks as well, and they lived there. It was amazing. It was the Bedouin tribe.
You can head to Colorado Springs to find some of the most beautiful red rock formations at Garden of the Gods. And Colorado's also home to the tallest sand dunes in North America. This state is honestly so diverse that even if you spent your entire life here, it still wouldn't be long enough to explore all the unique environments the area has to offer.
Is that true, though? Would you not be able to explore it all?
Number 6. Washington. Seattle and rain are probably the first two words that come to mind when you think of Washington. But this state is so much more. Don't get me wrong, on the days where it isn't misty and rainy and you can actually see, Seattle's one of the most picturesque cities in the world. But the constant rain kinda is what makes the Evergreen state stay, well, evergreen. Speaking of...
So, it's, well, similar to the United Kingdom then, except not as beautiful, potentially. I mean, there's some wonderful places in the United Kingdom, like truly stunning, but just not on the same scale. That's the one thing I would say. You pretty much drive to the other end of the country in the same day in the United Kingdom. So, yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing, guys, a lot.
Of Evergreen, North Cascades National Park might be one of the most beautiful places on Earth. I mean, have you seen Mount Shuksan? Well, probably not, because it's also one of the least visited national parks, which is weird since it's
yeah, but I mean, how can you visit that unless you're like a professional expeditioner? So it's going to be tough to visit that, isn't it, really, guys? That's not for average Joe.
Only a 2-hour drive from Seattle. But even closer to Seattle are the majestic Olympic Mountains, and even closer is Mount Rainier, which is the most prominent peak in the continental United States, and also an active volcano. But hey,
What? Hang on a minute. You're kidding me, right? I did not know that America had active volcanoes. Really? That's crazy, man.
Not here to judge Seattleites' life decisions. It really was hard to choose which Pacific Northwest state to put higher on this list, but while Oregon is very geographically diverse, Washington is even more diverse. The Evergreen state is home to 6...
Right, if you've been here, guys, let me know what it's truly like in the comments, because I'm seriously, like, these pictures and cinematics are blowing me away. They look absolutely beautiful and fantastic. I just want to go to all of them.
63 different mountain ranges, the largest expanse of temperate rainforest in the U.S., tons of waterfalls, rivers, lakes, and ecologically unique islands, the Columbia River Gorge and the Scablands, the Palouse Hills, and charming mountain towns like
That's
Leavenworth.
Beautiful.
You know, maybe it is worth living under an active volcano to be near all that. Number 5.
So 6, yeah, I don't know. I agree with it so far, but you know, I don't know. There's something about Maine. I just like the way it's like pretty, isn't it? It's like a pretty little town or pretty little place. I know it's massive still, but I like the look of it, man. Still, for being 10th, I don't know. I think that one's done it for me. In Oregon, I like Oregon.
5. Utah. From the Rocky Mountains to desert canyons, it isn't hard to see why Utah has the 3rd most national parks in the country. You've probably heard of Zion and Arches, and
Yeah. So. Yeah, I recognize. Well, obviously, you don't recognize those, but the arches and stuff like that's quite a famous kind of selling point for the United States. It is in England anyway.
That's not the moon. That's just Canyonlands National Park. There's also Bryce Canyon and Capitol Reef National Park, and a boatload of national monuments and forests, which are equally as impressive. As you can see, Utah
Right, that is crazy good.
There's a lot of similarities with Colorado and Arizona, but also has a lot of uniquely Utah things too. And I'm not talking about fry sauce. Besides the national parks, there are 43 state parks, and no, I'm not about to list them all, but just look at how pretty they are. The coolest thing about Utah, in my opinion, though, is that most of the nature is completely untouched, and aside from the super popular national parks and ski resorts like Zion and Park City, it's almost never overcrowded with tourists. If it had a coastline, Utah would probably be number 1 on this list, but it doesn't. And before you say, hey, what about the great...
Hang on a minute. So if it had a coastline, it would probably be number 1. Is Utah that good? It's not really something that like I would hear of in the United Kingdom. It's not like, oh, Utah, you need to go there. It's not really the big go-to. From the United Kingdom, we kind of know about, we hear about New York, Florida, and California. Them's the big 3, really, that we kind of are inclined to go and visit. I don't know why that is, but it's just the way it is.
Great Salt Lake! Nobody actually likes how the Great Salt Lake looks, or smells for that matter. Number 4, California. I know a lot of you are probably wondering, why is...
Yeah, I mean, Cali, I loved California when I was there, but many people have been like messaging me like, nah, California is not the best place. But I've got nothing to judge it off, really, guys. All I know is I loved it.
Isn't California number one? I mean, it is the most geographically diverse state in the country by far, housing nearly every type of climate zone in the world. But the one thing keeping it out of even the top 3 on my list is just all the overcrowding and pollution. Even though
Right, so I have heard about the pollution and the overcrowding. That goes without saying. There's a lot of tourists go there. People like me, I guess, you know, always going there and visiting, kind of probably piss the Americans off, and I can understand why. But I thought it was beautiful, man. I really did like it. I would definitely go back.
Most of the national parks are 4 to 5 hours out of the cities. There are still so many people. Sure, there are a few secret spots where you can find some peace and quiet, but if you aren't a local and don't know what you're doing, you're never gonna find them. What you will find is 3,400 miles of pristine coastline and some of the best beaches in the world. To the south, you have La Jolla.
I agree. I think it is one of the best beach lines in the world. I mean, look at that.
And Laguna, but more north, there's also Carmel, Moonstone Beach, Bowling Ball Beach, and the incredible Big Sur. But actually, don't go there because the locals do everything they can to hide the best spots from tourists. So why don't you head on over to one of the 9 national parks or over 300 state parks instead, both numbers being the most of any state. Try Yosemite, the Redwoods, or even Death.
Yosemite, is that where that big mountain is, isn't it? Is that right? Where they did the free climb? That was an amazing thing. That I would love to go visit that as well, man.
Valley. Seriously, I cannot state this enough. Almost every type of scenery imaginable is here. The problem is that people, litter, and their pollution is destroying the environment, and not nearly enough funds are being allocated to protect it. But what can I say?
Right, so where's the pollution coming from? What kind of pollution are we talking? Are we talking pollution from vehicles, manufacturing, factories? What kind of pollution, guys?
Hey, it's not like money grows on trees. And even if it did, California would have probably burned through it by now. Pun intended.
Yeah. Sorry, Callie. You've had a lot of bad luck recently, haven't you, really? So, actually, on a serious note, thought and prayers to those guys. It must be horrific to live through that.
Number 3, Hawaii. Hawaii is by far the smallest state on this list. So I guess it goes to show that size doesn't matter. Because
that is
what
like,
the aloha.
My wife's from Mauritius, and she's always wanted to go to Hawaii for the reason that it's apparently very, very similar. You know, it's an island at the end of the day, and people act very differently on islands, guys. All right, very, very different indeed. And yeah, she would like to go there. I would love to go there as well, but yeah, we'll have to see what the future brings. Let me know in the comments. Is it worth going to?
State lacks in size, it makes up for it in sheer beauty. There really isn't a single part of the islands that isn't jaw-droppingly gorgeous. Each of the 7 inhabited islands is entirely different in its own way, but some notable views are the Nepali coast and Waimea Canyon on Kauai, the bamboo forest Honokohau Falls, and the road to Hana on Maui, the sea cliffs of Molokai, Lanikai Beach and the Coco Head crater on Oahu, and Mauna Kea and Volcanic National Park on Big Island. In fact, the Big Island alone has 11 of the world's 13 climate zones. From the history to the culture to the waterfalls, volcanoes, hiking, and world-class snorkeling and surfing, Hawaii is one of the most unique and diverse states in the country. Not to mention the nearly perfect weather with tropical temperatures and 270 sunny days a year.
270, guys. Wow. I think England's like 27.
Number 2. Montana. In contrast to the last 2 states, Montana has exactly 0 miles of coastline. So how the heck did it make it so high on this list? If you're seriously asking that question, you need to visit the Big Sky State, where, yes, the sky really does seem bigger. We all know Colorado is the Rocky Mountain state, but honestly, the Rockies in Montana...
Right, is the Rockies really that good as well? hear a lot about it, but you know, it's just is it really that good? Is it worth visiting Montana to see?
Remain unparalleled. The mountains loom majestically over vast and colorful valleys dotted by the lakes, rivers, and wildlife that run through them. A trip to Yellowstone will leave you bewildered by the power of nature, but the lesser-known Glacier National Park is actually, in my opinion, the most beautiful national park in America. And in the eastern half of the state...
That is quite a statement, guys. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments.
You have a complete contrast with places like Makoshika State Park with its badlands and dinosaur fossils. There are actually 55 state parks in the state, including the Lewis and Clark Caverns, Flathead Lake, Palisade and Kootenai Falls, and Bighorn Canyon. But honestly, the entire state could be a national park. Drive through just about anywhere here, and you'll have a hard time finding a view that doesn't look like a painting, even in the urban areas like Missoula or Bozeman. And on a clear night, you might even see the Northern Lights. Now, before we get to number one, leave a like, subscribe, and let me know what you think the most beautiful state is. But without further ado, number one.
Here we go. Number one. What's it going to be, guys? What's it going to be?
Alaska.
Alaska? Really? Okay. I mean, beautiful. Yeah, that first picture, you can't really disagree with it. That is fantastic.
Speaking of the Northern Lights, could number one really be anything but? Alaska is more grand, vast, and untamed than any other state. And it's not even close. It even has more coastline than every other state combined.
Really?
And that coast varies widely from the volcanic Aleutian Islands to glacier-lined black sand beaches to craggy cliffs to forested fjords. Sure, it does get really cold in some parts, but there is a heck of a lot more to Alaska than just snow-capped mountains. The last frontier is home to 8 national parks, each featuring incredibly different landscapes, ranging from Denali, home of the tallest mountain in North America, to Kenai Fjords, Gates of the Arctic, Glacier Bay, and Wrangell St. Elias, which is actually the largest national park in the nation. And while there are also 156 state parks to boot, Alaska's still the least visited state in the U.S., which might...
Why? Why is it the least visited state in the United States? Why is that?
Be due to the fact that there aren't many roads leading to the parks. You'll actually have to charter a plane to get to most of them. But that's also why the population density is just 1 person per square mile. So there are literally thousands of miles of untouched unique wilderness, and you're probably more likely to run into a bear, moose, or muskox than another person in the nature here. Where else can you find...
Wow, guys, let's have a chat about this one. So he came out, obviously Alaska was first. I don't know if I agree with that. I can't disagree with the beauty of it, but in a place, most beautiful state, I don't know. I would like a little bit of everything. And again, guys, I don't know if it's just because I've been there. From what I've seen, minus the pollution and the fire, you know, California seems to have all of that. I'm surprised Texas wasn't on there. I've heard a lot of people say a lot of good things about Texas. You know, I don't know, Maine looks pretty cool. Oregon, that looks awesome, man. I'd love to go visit those places. But yeah, from a United Kingdom's person, from a perspective of someone from the United Kingdom like myself, these are not the states that we would order, just off what we know. If you were to ask us to like list the top 3 states, it would be very different what you guys do, simply because of our limited knowledge. But yeah, most people would think that New York, California, Florida are the best states or best areas within the United States, simply because of you know, like that's the big tourist hotspots, aren't they? Really, let's face it, guys. But yeah, really like that one. Quite a long video today, but if you liked it, like, share, subscribe. Members, thank you guys for supporting the channel. If you want to become a member, press the join button or the link in the description. And yeah, thank you, troops. I really do appreciate you. Take it easy.